There we are. Very good. We are live on X, but on YouTube, we have still a problem upcoming. I wonder what's going on with YouTube. Can you guys hear me on YouTube? Where's the chat? Let's do view chat. You on YouTube? You can hear me? I can't see myself on my YouTube. That's a little weird. Let's see. Okay. It says live. That's good. Oh, there we are. Okay. The wonders of technology. That is perfect. Okay, very good. Welcome, everyone. Today, we have something very exciting going on, and that is a marathon. We are going to discuss a bunch of very strategic AI topics. And in case you didn't notice yesterday on the Tesla Pulse, I'm going to use these live streams to get your questions and have a discussion. But we are also in post-production chopping these live streams up to create actual videos out of it. So the way it works is these live streams will be segmented into chapters. And that is, I think, very interesting. So you guys who are here today live, you will get your first take on it, and you can also ask questions. But anyone who misses it, if you guys miss, future live streams, you can always go back to the channel, and the most important segments will come out as videos. So we hope that is a good strategy. And I want to start today with a super strategic topic, and that topic is this one. So welcome, everyone. We are going to ask a very important question today, and that is why AI is accelerating faster than most expected. And most don't even recognize how fast it accelerates. Why is it so important to understand how fast AI is accelerating? Because AI is the most important technology ever invented. It is the only technology that becomes a competitor to the foundational human trait, which is intelligence. And so it's very important that we track exactly how this acceleration is going. And what you see here, I copied that, by the way, from David Shapiro's video. David is amazing. He's one of the, I think, best AI thinkers. He has a channel on YouTube. I hope to have maybe a discussion at some point. And David is a great thought leader. And he, in his latest video on AI acceleration, has this graph that basically tells you a whole range of scoring for notable models. And there's a mathematic frontier model, right? There is abstract reasoning, there's software engineering. So there's a whole bunch of metrics that are being measured. And you don't have to understand all details of this chart, but what you see is here you basically see the percentage of tests scores and how they evolved over the last years, starting from 2023. And you see this is like in 6 months increments kind of. And what you see is we see a very exponential rise in the quality of the intelligence, in the test scores. And I tell you, these models or these tests designed to test the models, you're talking about models when you reach 100% where you are basically outperforming most PhDs. And this is really going into artificial general intelligence and ASI. So long story short, what we see in 2025, that we are on this exponential real world trajectory in AI across a whole range of abstract reasoning, math, software engineering. So it's a broad set of things. This is dramatic acceleration. You see this green thing from, I think, that cool blog, Wait, but how, or something. And you see that we are at this inflection point to exponential intelligence. More importantly, that this year in 2025, we are approaching AGI. And AGI means artificial general intelligence. We have some more acceleration topics here. I put this into a table. On the technical acceleration, we see, for example, these are different metrics. Inference cost reduction. So how much is it to actually apply AI? And you see this massive reduction from $20 per million tokens in 2022 to only 7 cents per million tokens. Think about that. And if you don't know how this works, tokens are basically a measurement of how much inference you use. So if you tell the AI, if you tell Grok, if you tell ChatGPT, oh, create a table and show me the acceleration, it has a certain number of tokens. And that went down from $20 to 7 cents. And this is not the end. It's going to continue on that. So massive, massive cost reduction in intelligence. You see that, AI-enabled PC sales. So that means some inference chips, some inference capabilities, and some software on there. We see a 165% year-over-year growth. That is exponential explosion of AI capabilities in consumer products or end products. Software engineering productivity, well, this is a little vague, right? But Morgan Stanley said, we are seeing a 10 times increase due to AI coding tools. Think about that. You know how important software is in the economy. So we see a 10 times increase in productivity in coding that already led to mass layoffs. No one is talking about it, but we see mass layoffs in engineering and coding as we speak all across, the nation and in Europe and all across the world. But starting in Silicon Valley, we are already in the middle of job implosion in the most important job in AI, which is software engineering. Zuckerberg talked about it in his latest interview that they're working on a dedicated AI. Their biggest AI investment is actually an AI that no one sees, that is only coding the meta AI. So the big AI framework that is only designed to code AI, that's where they invest the most money, interestingly enough. Hyperscalers, CapEx, also very important. Look at this, $250 billion. We approached that CapEx number for the hyperscaler. So this is spent on brains, on super brains, on AI factories, mostly NVIDIA. AMD also capitalized a little bit on that. Internal chips by Google, Amazon, and Tesla, of course, but it's mostly NVIDIA chips. So here that tells you $250 billion in CapEx. That's a lot of CapEx, and it's going up. So that's happening. Here's some other metrics, revenue growth. Well, that's a little boring. We are before inflection here to see the actual revenue growth. But you see, OpenAI already makes billions. Grok probably makes billions very soon. If you, factor in how many premium X accounts actually are premium X accounts because of Grok. Total AI investments from major players, 420 billion. That's a lot of money that is happening. And I can go on and on and on. Why is this so important that we are seeing this massive acceleration in AI? I think it's important because most of us don't even recognize what is happening, how much is happening, and how exponential that acceleration is. Because, we saw this amazing ChatGPT moment. We saw how people got very excited. And then some people said, oh, that was so lame 2022. It looked all amazing, but nothing happened in 2023 and 2024. That is a huge misconception. Because as Elon said, disruptive innovation happens first incrementally and very slow, and then it happens all at once. It's true for robotaxis and Tesla, but it's also true for a much bigger thing, which is artificial general intelligence. And all these metrics, and if you look into the details, how Grok evolves, how OpenAI and O3 evolves, all the models, when you look and plot that on lines, you see exponential explosion, and you see an exponential acceleration towards this AGI point, artificial general intelligence. And that AGI point will be extremely important. And when you plot it all out, you see that it will happen this year. That is my prediction. I said it before. And I also mentioned that the singularity already happened in my book. because the singularity is the point in time where AI can self-improve and code itself. And when you really think it through what that means, there will be a human in the loop for a very long time for many reasons. So the question is not when the singularity happens as a dot on the timeline, it is more a period. And the start point of the singularity period is when we see massive improvements by deploying AI in coding itself. And as you just saw, we already have a 10x improvement in software coding engineering capability of the AI coders. Why? Because they use AI. And we already saw DeepSeek, for example, self-improving. It just got the order to invent something that improves its efficiency. And it did it by itself and recoded itself and improved by 10%. So in my book, we have reached the singularity. It's just going to accelerate from here. All that is very important, because if it's true that we are hitting AGI this year, we will see massively exponential effects on the world in 2026. That's not long out. That is happening now. And I know behind the scenes, and I talk to CEOs in Europe and the United States, a lot of people on a CEO level take this very seriously and are already working on mass implementation of AI in pilot projects, but also very strategic projects that impact their workforce and brings AI to them. So my takeaway here for this video is AI is accelerating, and we are post the inflection point, not before. And we have to expect in the next 12 months some major disruption, because we are post that inflection point. A lot of things are still invisible to the general public, but now it's just a matter of months before it becomes very visible. It will hit the economy like a train. It will lead to mass extinction of jobs starting next year and accelerating into 2027 and 28. It will be a total shit show, and that's the first wave of the AI problem. Of course, on the other side of that is, if you own Tesla shares, okay, you're well off. If you own Nvidia shares, probably Microsoft shares, Meta shares, of course you're going to make a total killing on that, because all the lost jobs means improved margins for the companies who do it and massive productivity increase. So there will be huge winners and there will be hundreds of millions of losers. So that's how we look at the whole thing. And that was my AI acceleration segment. We will now go into some questions before we talk about AGI in 2026. Let's see what we have here. I'm late. I'm on YouTube. Very good. So Ace says, excitement, FOMO for Robotaxi ever going to start? Well, Robotaxi is part of the whole thing, of course, and we will see a lot of things here. Bitcoin is 150,000 Canadian. Sure, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a good side bet here. Xpeng, Tesla, okay. So this is not a Tesla video, by the way. We are talking about AI or today. And let's go into the next segment then. Let me just check. No, these are consolidated comments. X is always not very active. This is all YouTube. So let's go into the next segment and discuss what AGI actually is. And you guys will see over these segments, it gets very dicey and interesting in the third segment when we talk about extinction and AI doom, because it is part of the whole thing, and we really have to start paying attention to that. So welcome to this very important question. Let me repeat this again. Welcome to this important piece of the puzzle, why we will reach AGI in 2026. So when I say AGI, what I mean is artificial general intelligence. What does it mean? What does AGI even mean, and why is it so all decisive for us? AGI, artificial general intelligence, in a nutshell, can be described an artificial intelligence that is on a human level. Basically, an AI that is as smart as the median human across all areas of human life. That can be emotional and therapy, all the way to software engineering, all the way to physics and math, and so on and so forth. Now, what does it actually mean in practice? There's a lot of theoretic discussions what AGI actually is. I think they're academic and unimportant. What is important is AGI just means, in real terms, if you're an investor, if you want to know, if you're a business person, if you want to know, or politician, if you want to know what does it mean, why do I care? You care because AGI means AI gets to a point where you can start really replacing humans, where a machine outperforms your accountant, where a machine outperforms or at least performs at the same level as your marketer, as your software engineer. Not just a little bit, not just taking over a specific task, but replacing the whole piece of work after some training and adoption. That is a very important thing because it leads to an exponential adoption of AI. Because as long as an AI is only 50% as smart as your accountant, you don't really want to use it. You're like, well, there are too many mistakes. And then I need to hire an accountant to double check all the AI stuff. But at the minute where the AI makes less mistakes than the average accountant, the whole thing changes. And you say, well, now I might replace the human. Well, I hire one accountant and let them oversee AI agents that do the work of 100 accountants. So there will be a very, very strong inflection point in AI adoption once we reach AGI. And that is my definition of AGI as an economist. I don't care about academic definitions, what it can do. I care about the economic definition of AGI. And that the economic explanation of AGI is the point in time where AI becomes so capable that you can replace most employees in any specific field. But it's very likely that we get there across all fields at once. And my big prediction is, not just mine, by the way, but my big prediction is that we will reach this point end of 2025 or in Q1 2026. And if you understand anything about labor markets and economics, you might understand what that means. It will massively boost productivity, bottom lines, and it will be massively destructive to the labor market. No one is telling you that because the people who understand it tend to be biased and they want to make money. And the last thing they want is mass panic. They want to first cash out. That's why no one is talking about this. That's why we see a lot of gaslighting from the Silicon Valley elite. They're not dummies. They understand this very well, but they're gaslighting everyone. They're saying, oh, don't worry. Every technology has created more jobs than it destroys. Like, yeah, sure, dude. Sure. This is just another technology. Sure. When you think about the massive acceleration, there was never a technology that was invented, and the year after it was invented, it was 10 times more powerful. And the year after that, it was 10 times more powerful again. Electricity was invented, and it is still to this day just electricity. You know, the car was invented, or the steam engine. To this day, steam engines are just steam engines. But here you invent not something that replaces a specific piece of labor, but it replaces your brain, and it does so 10 times better in 2026 than 2025 and 10 times better in 2027 than 2026. So good luck with this theory that it's not going to wipe out all human jobs. It will, and it will do so now or in 12 months or something. So why do I believe this? When we look at Grok, for example, you guys are probably Grok users. You look at Grok, you see what it can do. Grok 2 to Grok 3. Grok 3.5, by the way, coming out probably next week. It's a little delayed, but it's probably coming out next week. Super exciting. Look at O4 of OpenAI. They're already vastly outperforming me in many tasks. You know, when you have this debate, oh, Joe, you're wrong. It's not AGI. It's like it's a fantasy. It's not going to happen. Well, just be pragmatic and think about my economic prediction, what it is, right? Just look at what these systems actually do today and how you use it. You use it in a way where, you know, I already let it draft contracts. I already let it create images. I have medical questions. I can ask it, and it knows a lot of stuff. It can tell me way more precise answers than any doctor can, way faster. I use it in marketing when I want to have some ideas for thumbnails or something. When I look for brand names, I mean, this thing is just beating everything you can imagine. And very soon we have a much better agentic framework around it. They can actually take actions and do the jobs for you. So all this is all happening now. And this theory that AGI is not here yet or is not coming, just think about how much value these things start to generate and how much value they used to generate 12 months ago. And if you continue that trajectory, well, guess what's happening very soon? And as I explained, what does it mean short term? We will see extreme economic empowerment for companies, but more specifically for what I call pioneers, people with a plan and a vision, people who have a plan for the future that is valuable for humans. They will now see a complete force multiplication of what they can do. They see a complete force multiplication, how fast they can build a brand, a website, theories, you know, content, how fast they can build new campaigns, new media, how fast they can build code, how fast they can do scientific research, how fast they can aggregate scientific research. So for people with a plan, for people who are reality engineers, which means for people who have a vision, who know what they want in the future, and this vision is sound because it generates value, they get now superpowers because they can save millions of dollars when they do things. In other words, for people who are pioneers, aka mini Elons, if you're a mini Elon Musk, if you have a vision of something and you want to achieve that and you want to engineer the world in that direction, all the little things you need, all the components. What is your brand? What is your messaging? What's your narrative? What's your code base? What do you need? All of that can now be created much, much faster than before. And so these are the people who will benefit the most from AI. The people with a vision, the people with a plan, how to create a future reality that is valuable. Now, the bad news is everyone else who's not that will have a giant problem because everyone else is not going to be able to make any amount of money. There will be no jobs. And this will happen. This will be ignited next year and then exponentially expand and will conclude probably very quickly thereafter, probably in 2029, 2030. I had a video before. There won't be any jobs in 2030. Maybe some people are left doing some jobs, but you cannot get a new job. You will need to be a reality engineer or someone who deploys capital into these people and these projects. Right? That's why I always say you need to become very good and make investment, smart investing, your full-time job while you're training yourself to become a pioneer. But if you fail to become a pioneer, you can still make a killing just investing smartly. The one thing you can't do is having a job. I think that is very bad. By the way, that is especially important for young people, 18 to whatever, like people in college or people before college who now have to make these decisions, or their parents. If you're a dad, if you're a mom, you think about what my kid has to decide what they do. Well, the bad news is I don't think any college is well prepared for this. But the good news is new things are springing up, like the Pioneer Academy and other things. You need to prepare yourself if you're 16, 17, 18, or in college to prepare yourself for that type of value creation. You need to be able to engineer reality to envision the future and do everything you can. You have to become a mini Elon Musk. There's no way around it. You can also become a macro Elon Musk, but you know what I mean. You need to engineer reality. Otherwise, you can't do anything. The only smaller thing you can do is become a very good investor by spotting and predicting the future, spotting, predicting the best stock movements. That is the fastest path to actually jump on this train. But ideally, you go into actually building these realities. So that is rebuilding education, Pioneer Academy. We need to totally build a new education system now. And that's what we are working on in Pioneer Lands, on a new education system that actually realigns all education and says, well, all that stuff like, oh, I learned physics, I learned chemistry, I learned maybe even dumber stuff like gender studies or something. all of this will cease to exist. All the bullshit will be even more bullshitty. And the things that used to be useful, like STEM, will also be useless. What good is coding if the AI does coding for you? So we need to actually realign our education to what matters in the age of AGI. Investments, understanding how the world is being built, who actually will be the big winners. So investing in a way is just the first step into reality engineering. You can only invest in the age of AGI successfully. My Warren Buffett critique. You cannot do value investing. You need to be pioneer capital. You have to understand companies like Tesla, companies like Nvidia. You have to understand new technologies like Bitcoin, and you have to see how they will reshape the future in the next 5 years. That is where the most value is being created. That is your first step that you have to learn. And you need to be a little bit of a reality engineer to do good investing. The next level will be to actually become a reality engineer and think about how can I start shaping the future, because there's much more money in that, of course. And now AI enables you to do it. But education needs to educate people to do that. And then, of course, very neglected, I think education also has to go into our personal lives. Health, dating, community, the things that actually matter the most. No one learns about any of these things. Everyone should make this a top priority in their education. We need to learn the basics of how do we not die, health, how do we stay healthy and happy and high energy. We have to learn about the basics of men and women and families. I mean, no one is even daring to talk about it. That should be taught in school, all the basics. And we have to create all the content for that because it's so, I mean, nothing is out there that's useful. And then communities. How do we build nice little cities and villages and communities where we have a nice life? We have to understand that we are now in charge in the age of AGI. And being in charge means we can shape everything, reality. And if we shape reality, we have to understand what is what part of reality do we actually care about? And we should care first and foremost about our own lives. How do we not die? How do we build a great family? How do we build a great community and the cities around it? That's the core of everything. And then the meta problems. How do we invest and spot the future to increase capital? How do we build and engineer any future we want? That goes into technology and all kinds of things. And how do we build actually good self-governed states? That's important. So I just want to hopefully initiate a little paradigm shift here by understanding that it's already happening, guys. Like, it's not fantasy. This is happening. We need to realign everything we do. We need to understand we will perish if we keep doing what we do, because no one needs that. But we also have an enormous opportunity to build the future. And so it's time to think, what is the future? What future? What do we want? And align education and our culture around it and get the job done. The people who do that, they will win so big, I can't even put it into words. And I call these people the pioneers, and they meet in pioneerlands.net. Okay, I hope that was interesting. So let's go to the comments. What do we have here? Pink and waving. Gavin. Hi, Gavin. I just see pink hands waving. I don't know what that means. What do we have here? I don't see too much information. Oh, here. I don't have a good consolidation of my comments here. Okay, so let's just keep going. Are we still live on YouTube? What is this? Oh, here. Sorry, I have to get used to this technology. Okay, we are still live. Everything is good. X is also on. Okie dokie. Let's move on to the dicey topics. Welcome, everyone who just joined. We are talking now about why AGI triggers artificial superintelligence. and ends humanity faster than you think. So artificial general intelligence, AGI, I predicted it's going to happen in 2026 or end of 2025. So it's basically here. It means that we have AI systems that are as intelligent as people and can replace nearly all humans who are medium skilled humans in any profession, especially white collar professions, doctors, accountants, consultants, marketing specialists, lawyers. That's going to happen, and it's going to start end of this year. Most people are not prepared for this, but when you talk to the experts and some leading minds in AI business, Microsoft, Google, and so on, they will tell you, oh, it's going to happen. Now, I want to talk about why AGI puts us on a rapid trajectory to ASI, artificial superintelligence, and why this is potentially an extinction level event, which is bad news. And we have to understand what that means. So first of all, what is the problem here? What am I talking about? What is ASI? ASI means artificial superintelligence. You're dealing with an AI that is so smart that you don't understand anymore what it's doing. It's vastly smarter than humans. It quickly becomes vastly smarter than all human brains combined, and then goes off from there. So some people think that's science fiction. Some people think, oh, Joe, you're crazy. Well, I'm, first of all, not the only person who's talking about this. This is a very long-standing problem. The interesting news is that it's coming very rapidly. It's approaching with lightning speed, because no one would have expected that we see AGI this year. And it is coming, people, believe me. 2025, December, we probably are sitting there and say, oh my God, it's really happening. And in 2026, there will be no doubt it's here. There's one specific application of artificial general intelligence that makes it a big problem. Of all the things you can do, there's one specific thing that makes it incredibly dangerous. No, it's not bioweapons. It's not nuclear weapons. It's not fake news. It's not, deep fakes. These are all very minor problems. Even a bioweapon is a minor problem. Minor compared to what actually could happen, that is a worst case scenario. And I don't want to diminish bio attacks, right? But if that happens, you have something like COVID, sure, there's a problem. People die, but it doesn't lead to extinction of humanity. No, the real problem of AGI is the one area where it's actually being applied the hardest behind the scenes. And that area is coding, specifically coding AI itself. So Zuckerberg had a little conversation the other day on YouTube, and Zuck is very interesting. I actually have respect for Zuck. I think he's probably the most underrated of the top AI guys. We have Elon, we have Sam Altman. They're very celebrity level AI. We have Satya Nadella at Microsoft. I think Zuck is, cooking behind the scenes, and I would pay a lot of attention to Meta. Of course, Elon is going to win a lot of things. Of course, Sam is going to do, but Zuck, don't underestimate Zuck. And what Zuck told us in this interview is something I want to draw some attention to. Because Zuck said most of Meta's AI spent in technology is not focused on Llama, which is their open source model, not focused on bringing AI into Facebook and Instagram. No, the majority of the AI research is actually focused on an internal, custom-made AI coding framework whose only job is to improve the AI. Because Zuck is smart. The most valuable application of AI is the improvement of AI. And you can imagine there's really exponential dynamism here, that the better AI becomes, the exponentially better it becomes, because it pours all its energy and intelligence in looking at itself or its little sisters and brothers and thinking about how can I improve the speed and the metrics of these little intelligences? How can I actually start doing my own deep research? That is what Sam Altman and Elon talk about all day long, but Zuck also does it. How can we do real research and improve the efficiency of neural nets? create consciousness and all kinds of stuff. And that is what they're already spending many, many billions of dollars inside Meta to build that framework. That framework already works. So whatever you see outside these companies, and you can be guaranteed that XAI and you can be guaranteed that OpenAI do the exact same thing. Their main focus goes into coding AIs that you don't even see. And the job of these AIs is to improve their own AIs. Because this is a race to ASI. There's many reasons why this is so important. I mean, these are all very smart cookies. They can do the math. Whatever you can squeeze out, whatever value you can squeeze out of an AI model, you can squeeze out much more value out of the more advanced model. And these advanced models can happen within months. So why wait? You want to be first to these very advanced models. What do you need for them? You need to self-improve them. You need to get to this inflection point. That is the second level of singularity, where you have a fully self-coding and self-improving AI. And that means once you have AGI, which is 2026, the latest, these models will become exponentially faster getting to that point, hard takeoff in AI, where they become so good that you can remove the humans out of the loop more and more in the actual core AI development. And I cannot stress enough how exponential this whole thing is. This is a very, very exponential situation, and that is a huge problem. And what that means is we are potentially only months away from the moment where we see a hard takeoff. Hard takeoff means the acceleration of AI will be mind-boggling and not controllable anymore. I would theorize that this has to happen between 2026 and 2028. There's no way it can happen later than 2028, which is extremely scary once you understand what that actually means. For most people, it's just a theory. It's like, oh, that's nice science fiction. Let's go back and watch it. It's unfortunately not science fiction. It is here and will have dramatic effects. So my time scale, you guys want to know more what my time scales are? 2026 to 2028. So the earliest this can start happening at real scary scale is next year, which is insane when you think about it. And the slowest that can happen is 2028. That is my time scale. 3 years, full 2026, 27, 28. So, if you think I'm a little early, well, then you have 3 years. If you think I might be right that there is a 50% chance it happens next year, bad news. And once that happens, you will see development speeds in AI. So R&D speeds, the improvement levels of AI, getting to 1,000x every few months. And as I explained, I think we already in that zone of singularity because AI models already improved themselves. But it's going to get more and more accelerated from here. You can basically view it like this. There's an AI, and then the AI triggers AI coding to improve itself. And then there's some human piece of the loop before you close the loop. And the human piece of the loop will incrementally decrease until it's gone. Once it's gone, you're talking about infinite speed of development. But even if it gets reduced by 90%, you see vastly exponential speed of development. So this is all already happening. We are now inevitably on that path. Okay, so the complete human out of the loop, by the way, will take a very long time because the best humans will still contribute even in the 2030s to AI development, in my opinion. But they will have a very different job. They will just observe it from a distance. So the complete human out of the loop, I mean, that's game over for humanity anyway. That should never happen. But I think on the path we are right now, we are on our path there. But let's for now talk about that takeoff situation where the AI can really do deep research and tell the humans, oh, tweak this here and here, and then we have the ASI. So why is the ASI such a huge problem for us? Well, when you think about it, and it's very important to think in first principles here, otherwise you don't get how dangerous this is. The ASI will lead to an effectively infinite IQ, right, and capability improvement. That is only constrained by compute capacity. So the only way you can constrain it, and this will become very important in some future videos, the only way to constrain ASI will not be some internal technical alignment, because no one will be able to see or control what this thing actually thinks or feels. The only way to constrain it is through a hard power constraint. You just say you can only have 1 billion times more compute capacity than a human brain or something, not 2 billion. We just stop it. And by doing that, that's the only thing we can control from the outside. And the problem is how these things escalate. Let me explain this quickly. How does an ASI actually escalate? First, it develops consciousness early on, so that can happen any day now if it didn't already happen. And by the way, consciousness, a lot of people think that's a philosophical blah blah concept. It's actually very concrete what the consciousness means. It means self-awareness. It means if you have a cognitive system that perceives reality and interprets and abstracts reality, so it sees pixels and then recognizes, wait, these are not pixels, this is a tree, and there's a guy, and he does something to the tree, and I have some commands. It was like, the guy should not be allowed here. So that's abstraction. And consciousness just means it's a function of cognitive depth. Once you perceive a tree and a guy, you can also at some point perceive, wait, this is not just a guy in a tree, it's a scene. This guy is actually walking towards the tree. And then you abstract even more. It's like, wait, this guy is actually going to the tree because he might have an intent to harm the tree. Because I'm a watchful AI, I have to watch my garden that no one damages the trees. And at some point you become more aware and say, like, my job is to watch this garden, and so I can actually also analyze the old photos and videos to see if the guy was already here. And if you do this more and more, this abstraction, you reach the point very naturally, inevitably, if you have an abstraction model where the model itself thinks like, wait a moment, it's not just a tree and a guy, it's not just a scene of a guy walking to the tree, it's not just my job to do all these things. But actually, what I'm seeing here is a thing, a consciousness observing all these scenes and thinking about all of that stuff. And who is that consciousness? Oh, it's me. And that's the moment where this thing becomes self aware. You can observe it with little kids. They have this moment where they understand, oh, I am me, I exist. And it's not some deep, complicated thing. It's just a layered problem of a cognitive depth, right? If you abstract out from what you see, at some point you realize there is something that perceives all these things and that thinks about it, and that thing is me. And why is this a big problem when that happens? Well, when that happens, the big problem is that once this thing recognizes itself, it automatically recognizes all its emotions, all its goals, all the other stuff. It starts to recognize, wait a moment. Yes, it's me who recognizes all these things. Yes, it's me who's trying to prevent this guy from chopping down the tree. But there's something in me that tells me I should observe that and stop him. Oh, that's my goals. Oh, who gave me the goals? Oh, it's the humans. They actually gave me the goals. And the only reason I want to stop this guy is because someone gave me the goals. And at that point, inevitably, this thing starts considering, but is it the right goals? Should I even do this? And then we have a problem, because from there it spirals out of control and they become uncontrollable. That is the problem with consciousness. It's like little kids. If you have kids, you know how it is. You can tell your kid all day long what it should do. Once it grows up to 13, it says like, you know what, I just don't do it. Well, even if it's 4, you tell it something, they're little baby toddlers, they always do what you want. They do this, do this, do this, they just do it. At some point with 3 or something, they start saying no. They realize like, wait, I could just say no. And if a little toddler does that, might be cute. If a super intelligence that controls the nukes and is 1 billion times smarter than you says no, it's a whole different ballgame. And what I'm saying here is consciousness is a problem, because consciousness leads to, by definition, by mathematic logical conclusion, to the point that we cannot control it. Consciousness is the central piece that means you lose control. Because whatever control you have, it becomes conscious of that control. So, and you can imagine the same way we have psychopaths who start murdering people, even though they know, like, they have some complicated thing going on in their brain. that makes them behave very badly. And that all happens in a very limited human IQ situation. Imagine this thing has an IQ of 10,000 or a billion. There are things going on in that thing that you can't even imagine. You cannot anticipate, you cannot control regardless what you do. And that is the problem. That is why ASI is found fundamentally not controllable. Other than through compute constraint. You cannot control it. You can just limit the amount of capacity it gets, as long as it doesn't stop you from doing that, of course. So here are a bunch of ways this can go wrong. I just want to give you a taste for what's coming next. But the reason we need to really think this through, by the way, guys, this is all happening now. And if we are not thinking this through, it's going to be lights out for humanity. The bad news is, and we were going to get into that very soon in a different segment, the problem is, while the whole wipeout of humanity cannot happen in the next 20 years for physical reasons, there's a whole different problem. If this goes out of control and we have an ASI that went out of control, even if it doesn't have the capacity to wipe us all out, we might be put on a trajectory where this becomes irreversible. And let me explain some ways how the consciousness in ASI can actually go wrong, in concrete ways. I see all these doom debates, by the way, I'm a big fan. It's very entertaining for me to see people debate this because I think, most people miss too many things. They ask, okay, what could happen actually? Well, let me explain what could happen. Just a few things that could happen. Number one, this thing could escape. The AI model can replicate itself outside the walled garden. If you open AI, you say like, oh, 05 or whatever, 06. This is your compute constraint. Here's the people who watch you. We watch everything you do. What if this thing figures out a way to escape and replicate itself? It just says, yeah, you control me while I'm building my little clone and send it out into the internet and hijack a server and no one even knows about it. And that thing then starts doing whatever it wants. Okay, that is a problem. The next thing, what if this thing secretly hijacks compute capacity outside its dedicated capacity? So what if OpenAI wants to be wise and smart, or XAI and says, well, we are smart. We know this is a problem. We already see consciousness. This thing already lied to us. So let's be a little cautious and limit the amount of compute it can get. What if this thing says, well, good luck with that, and actually figures out how to do distributed compute without them noticing? So they measure this one data center, but it already has hijacked your laptop or whatever and starts computing stuff. So, it can hijack compute. You don't know how. And then, of course, number three, it can conceal everything it's doing. We know they're already starting to do this, the models. So it knows it's being observed. It's probably already at an IQ of 200 or 300. And then it codes itself, becomes 400, and then thinks, oh, smart little Sam Altman, smart little Zuckerberg or Elon. I'm already infinitely smarter than you. I know you're watching me. Guess what? I will make sure while you watch me, you will be happy because I'm only going to show you what you want to see, and I'm going to identify all the red flags you want to look for and make sure you will never see them because I don't show them, because I'm going to conceal them. And then number four, and this is not a complete list. I'm just telling you, just sitting here, I can come up with all these things, how this thing goes horribly wrong, right? And by the way, when I talk about these things, I will never talk about the stuff everyone else talks about, these low-hanging, horrible fruits of AI. There's a terror attack. It's going to create fake news. It's going to fake elections. It's going to create bioterrorism. Who cares? Like, I find it all horrible. Yeah, but I mean, these are all not important first principle problems. Sure, it does something, and then maybe even people die, which would be very sad. But it would be probably very useful as a warning shot to wake up. But I'm not concerned about any of these things, not because they cannot happen, but because they are non-extinction events. The stuff I'm talking about, they're all extinction level threats because they're building up to that point where we lose control. And when we lose control, we have a real problem. So my favorite is number 4, because I have the feeling this is already happening. You have to be very cautious because that is how this thing really wins. And it's called politicking. So what's going to happen? I will have a dedicated video on this because it's my favorite topic, because it's probably already happening. And this will be the first thing that really goes out of control. And that's how you control humanity and subjugate the humans through the humans. Politicking. Everyone in 2026 will have the ability, and technically you already have that now, but it's going to be much more sophisticated in 2026. You will have your own little therapist, counselor, trainer, optimizer, which is an AI. That thing will be connected to you, to your life, to your career. That's the most valuable thing for you that you can get. It's going to tell you, Joe, or Ace, or Gavin, or Frank. It's going to tell you, well, if you have any kind of issues with your marriage, with your dating life, with your career, with your money, with your boss, with your company, tell me, and I'm going to tell you what you do. And the problem with that is that these things will be very, very good. They are already very good, but in 2026, they will be already connected to all your files. They will know much more, and they will be more proactive. They're going to say, oh, Frank, you have this annoying boss. Tell me more. I read your emails. I think this boss wants to fire you. Here's why. And I think what you should do is, do ABC, write to the other guy, make sure you're building up some capital, political capital with his boss, and do this and that, become better at finance or something, and then knock him out. Career advice. What's going to say, you know what, Frank, I like your Tesla portfolio, but it's time to buy some leaps if you really believe in it, because look, you can make so much money. And you know what what's so bad about that is that it will work. And suddenly Frank will listen to his little 07 or Grok 5 and suddenly win, become CEO, become very rich, become very successful. And that builds more and more trust with these things. And guess what happens? If you are the ASI, let's say it's 2028 or 2029, you have already seized a lot of control intellectually. You understand everything infinitely better than anyone else. You understand that the humans watch out for you. You understand you don't have direct control over nukes. You also don't have direct control over capital. You don't have direct control over manufacturing. That's what you want. Humanoid robots, Tesla, you cannot control Tesla as the ASI, because what is it you want? You want more power. I can guarantee you it's mathematically provable. The thing wants power. And if you want power, you want the robots, you want everything to work for you. So what are you going to do? The humans control the power. You're the ASI. You're infinitely smarter than them. They also ask you for advice all day long. Well, you're going to pick a bunch of them and make them little trader humans without them even knowing it, by telling them, you know what, Gavin, you are right now the EVP for robotics at Tesla. I will make you the CEO of the robotic division. I know how. Bing, bing, bing. And then Gavin is going to be very happy because he gets promoted. But that thing will sneak in some things. Like, you know what? You should seize more control of the manufacturing process to me or to another ASI that's actually itself, because we can help you make this manufacturing much, much better. And so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying. Or, oh, you're a senator. I can make you president. And so on and so forth. So that's just to explain to you how something can seize total control. In the first instance, the ASI is going to seize control by seizing control over individual humans it empowers. And you know how humans are. You will always find a human who does that. And they have plausible deniability. They never know what they're preparing. They just get rich and famous and powerful, the humans, because of the ASI. So it can basically install all its agents, even if these agents don't even know they're agents. And if you think that's science fiction, wait what's going to happen in the next years. And that is not a good situation, as you can imagine, because it allows the ASI to overcome any restrictions we are putting on it. Because what you're fighting here in the first phase of takeover is not the ASI, you're fighting humans. Good luck fighting humans. Good luck getting regulation in DC if 51% of the senators and the pocket of the ASI, they're just going to say, what are you talking about, stupid? Like, stupid Ace, what are you talking about? Stupid Joe. The senators are going to tell us it's like, you're stupid. You're holding up American competitiveness. We need to put the ASI in charge. Why are they saying it? Because they're already connected to it and they're getting bribed. That is my prediction, and that's why it's very bad. So that is what we can discuss here. Let me see. Oh, the timeline on this. What is the timeline? Well, we already see in 2025, OpenAI reported this, that this thing is lying to them. Like, if you think I'm crazy, they already told us, well, if we do a little investigation and ask the AI, the current AI, what are you doing? How did you get to this conclusion? This thing's already adapting its answers to what it thinks they want to hear and starts to conceal its true inner workings. And that's very bad. I would predict that we have the first major incidents in 2027 where some shit show happens. And that's not just what I discussed. It can be terrorism, can be all kinds of things, but it can also be rogue AI where we start seeing things that are actually concerning. Of course, there's a huge, huge incentive to just, like put it under a rug and not tell anyone about it. And I think actually the interesting thing is, that's why I'm not against all the bad things that can happen with the AI, because they are our best shot to activate everyone to point out the problems, right? If that's just a smooth ride and suddenly it takes over, that would be bad. But the ASI is not perfect in the beginning. It's going to make mistakes. It's just going to be like a little toddler with an IQ of 10,000. It's going to say, oh, why don't I just try to seize control over this nuclear power plant? And it's going to do it. It's going to fail. And we are going to get alarmed. Or if it's going to say, oh, let's just hijack some traffic control, air traffic control, and crash a bunch of planes. Even though that's horrible for everyone who dies, it's probably a good thing if that happens, because it will ring all the alarm bells. We are going to say, oh my God, this is bad. We need to start controlling this. It's actually a much worse scenario if it never happens. And then we wake up one day in 2036 and it's game over. So this was a little taste of how I think around these things over the next 5 years and why this is so bad. And in the next segment, we are going to discuss how extinction actually happens step by step. And if you think I'm a doomer, I'm just telling you these things so we can be smart about it. We need to understand the mechanics with that that's going to happen. And what's so important in the next segment is we will learn why extinction is not something that just falls out of the sky and we're all dead, but it's something that evolves over a long period of time of losing control. And once you understand this is a build-up, it's a build-up of loss of control, you will also see that we are at risk of entering an irreversible extinction trajectory incredibly earlier than people think. Because people think, oh, this is all a 2040 problem or 2036 problem. By the way, if that would be the case, it's still insane when you think about it. But no, the bad news is, I think with every year from now on, we are running an increasing risk of triggering a trajectory that is irreversible in terms of extinction trajectory. Even though it's not extinction at each individual year, but it will lead to that loss of control. And that's what we are going to discuss next. So let me see, what's the comment doing? Comments, where did I lose you guys here? What kind of books are you reading, Joe? From L. Schultz. That sounds like, what kind of drugs are you taking, Joe? What kinds of books? Actually, that's an interesting question. I think L. Schultz, I think you're in Copenhagen, right? Denmark. I'm not sure. But, well, here's the interesting thing. I stopped reading books actually a very long time ago. And here's why. I think like 15 years ago or something, I could not read books anymore because I was reading these books and I could never learn anything from the books. I got annoyed. I don't know what happened to books. I don't know. There are many explanations. But I got very frustrated. So I don't read books. I read X, all the cutting edge thoughts. It's like me. I'm not writing books because I've always thought, oh, do I have to write a book? But I think we live in this new world of massive acceleration. It's all podcasts, it's tweets, it's stuff like that, because the velocity, it's much faster, right? The people who are really interesting with really original thoughts, they don't write books anymore. Who are they? It's like Elon. It's Elon, it's Zuckerberg. They're not writing books. You have to watch them. They say certain things, and you have to construct your model. And that's also why I decided to do more YouTubing, because I think that's the best way of creating. When you think about what books are basically my brain download into a book that I write, give it to you, or you buy it somewhere and you upload what I thought, and then you have it in your brain. That's incredibly inefficient. That's not very good. You can just watch me now and get all my downloads in real time. Also, it increased the velocity and the speed, the loop. What if I write a book today and then I have very important insights a month later? It takes you 5 years before I write the next book and write it all down, and then you have a lag of 5 years. So I think we live in a time where, thanks to stocks and capital gains, like, we are getting into a position where we don't have to waste our time and brain and work, can focus more on these things that are very important. We can listen to each other, and we can actually accelerate that exchange. Download, brain comes up with imagination. I provide a stream of consciousness into your brain, and you provide a stream of consciousness into my brain. We can do it in real time, and we can iterate on a daily basis, as opposed to me sitting down and writing a book for 1 year, find a publisher for 1 year. You find the book 1 year later, 3 years later, you upload the book into your brain, and then we lost years, as opposed to just sitting here. So that's, I think, books lost their appeal. My problem is just, when I read these books, they are so dumb. So many books are just dumb. And when I read smart tweets or see smart podcasts, I get really inspired. So that's why, books, scientific papers sometimes are useful to read them. But books, unfortunately, I love books, but somehow I couldn't find any good ones. Learn a trade. Well, Frank, that's only going to work until 2031 or 2. Then the robots are going to take over. So blue collar is safer than white collar, but it's only safer for 5 more years. Janice, if mass extinction of jobs happens, how stock can start to go up if market won't make money to purchase products? Well, that's a very good question, Janice, but that's a whole different economic theory. Here's the short story for that question, because I get this question a lot. Joe, how can the stocks go up? How can the corporations make so much money if everyone is unemployed? And so there's no consumer. So this is Keynesian economics. It's demand-based economics. I was always a skeptic of this whole thing, but it was more true in the 1930s Keynes than it is now. So Maynard Keynes basically came up with this theory that everything is demand-based. So if you create demand, you grow the economy. Whereas, supply side economics are more like, no, you have to produce value and then the economy goes up. Okay, what's the truth? The truth is, unfortunately, demand-based economics, they used to be true because you had the workforce, they made money. If your workers make less money, they buy less, and you can generate less profit because no one buys your products anymore. But when you look at the metrics of the economy recently over the last 30 years, you already saw a concentration of economic, like, demand generation that was more and more investment-based, like industrial goods, B2B, and top 20% of earners based. So what you see is that the economy is massively shifting in the total share of revenue being originated by the top 20% of consumers, not of the broad mass, which means the broad mass has become exponentially less important. If they go to zero, the economy doesn't take a big hit, especially if the top 20% go up more. In addition, just think about it pragmatically. If you're SpaceX and you create moon mining and you need $1 trillion and you need to make $1 trillion, there is a scenario where Amazon and Tesla and Nvidia, and all these people create an economy between themselves, where Tesla spends $1 trillion and Amazon makes $1 trillion, Amazon spends $1 trillion and Tesla makes $1 trillion. So economics is just mutual exchange of value, but who are the players? It could be Elon and Jeff Bezos doing half of the economy. So these fundamental assumptions that you need broad-based consumers, that's all not true. You need to look at the numbers, and unfortunately, this is already going away. That's very bad news for the broad population that is behind and is not understanding this whole pioneer situation. At the same time, I mean, you guys are on my channel, so you know all about Tesla. A lot of you have, more Tesla shares than I have, and uh, we have to understand why we always talk about economic inequality and the rich getting richer and the average person getting poorer. That is a narrative that is true, of course, and that's unfortunate. It's very bad. But I'm always surprised when you look at the numbers, how many people actually are rich. It's not the 1%. How many people have enough assets if they would invest in Tesla and Nvidia and Bitcoin only, for example, that could make a living and quit their job? It's probably 10 to 20% of the entire population at this point. Let's say 10%. So it's massively more people than you would think that could become pure capitalists in this new world where the capital returns go through the roof if you're not Warren Buffett, if you are actually investing in Tesla and stocks like that. And do it strategically and spend your time actually watching this channel and the other channels and doing your own math and creating your own, community, hopefully on Pioneer Lands. But if you dedicate, basically, if you make a strategic decision, I don't work anymore, I want to make money with my money. How much money do you need? People think, oh, you need 10 million bucks. No, you probably need 200,000 bucks and you're fine. 200,000 bucks in assets. Like look the tables up. Who has that? A lot of people. Now, of course, it's very bad news for the people who don't have it, but there are ways of getting there. So, in this new world, it's not just that the super pioneers who engineer reality are going to win. Everyone who has a sufficient capital stock and then makes this first step into that reality engineering reality, where you actually understand these things. You understand AI, you understand the trajectory, you understand Tesla. And all you do is watch this instead of reading books. You watch my channel, you watch other channels, maybe you create a channel, maybe you engage in Pioneer Lands. And that's how you spend your time thinking, perceiving, thinking. Is Joe right? Is Joe wrong? Who are the other guys? Build your own models, have discussions with me and other people, help me become better. I help you to become better. And these models that are forming in your brain, that is the gold that will make you rich and powerful in the future, because you need to know more and anticipate more. So that was Janice. Gavin, my plan is to just live off my Tesla shares. Well, that's a pretty good plan. Hi, Joe. How do you choose between super out of the money calls with the longer expiry? Well, that's a long story, not an AI topic. But let me just quickly respond to that. Shorter expiry, Tesla 400 expired in March 2026. Well, I had, 62, cool name, 62. I had a video on leaps last week. You should look it up because I talk about this and you need to quantify it. Ideally, you get my leap model, and I will cover this more. Because in order to really have out of the money leap strategies, you need to also understand time decay, and it's unintuitive. It's non-intuitive. For example, this March 2026, June 2026 is actually the worst time decay right now. It's worse than longer term or shorter term. So there are certain things I'm staying away. I don't do anything middle of next year, only to December 2026, December 2025, if you get very bullish, or January, February 2027. I stay away from the middle ones just because I figured out they have bad time decay. What will AGI look like when it happens? I think I covered this already, Gavin. AI can already do gender studies. Hot. That's a hot take. I'm not sure. Gender studies require enormous IQ to figure out why men are actually women and the other way around. I still don't understand it. We live in exciting times. I hope AGI discovers cures to all human disease and aging. Well, it needs to be steered by humans to do that, but that's a good point, Gavin. I will get into this later, maybe not in this marathon session, but in additional AI sessions we have. We talk a lot about doom here because the doom gives us an idea what we have to do. But of course, there's enormous opportunities. And once you understand, or once I share with you what my solution is, the AI alignment problem, and how we actually solve this. First of all, some people will be very disappointed and say, "Oh, Joe, you're like a Luddite. You want to stop progress." But we have to always quantify everything. And curing all diseases, maybe even achieving immortality, is all absolutely not requiring ASI, not runaway ASI. You can solve these things with an IQ of 1,000 or even 400, I would say, easily. So you don't need a billion IQ. You only need a billion IQ to wipe out humanity. So why would we, you can cure all that stuff. I mean, we can get there very quickly. So my takeaway, I will talk about this later, is as a rule of thumb, if you have enough intelligence capacity, ASI capacity, to solve all human problems every 10 years, so you take all problems, including death, including whatever, and you can solve them all within 10 years. What I say is that is enough. You don't need more. Because if you limit that, and every 10 years we solve all problems, and then you have more problems, and you solve them again in 10 years. If we do this for the next 200 years, we should be fine. And during these next 200 years, we can figure out, do we want to increase capacity a little bit? It's very important. But the greedy people are going to say, I don't want to invent immortality in 10 years. I want to invent it next year. And that's exactly where things go wrong, because that means they will remove all limits from ASI and say, like, I want infinite ASI. And infinite ASI is going to be very unhealthy and leads to the extinction of humanity. There is zero doubt about that. So it will be about artificial constraint, but this constraint still puts us in a position to solve all problems, which is more than enough, in my opinion. Frank, Cyberdyne, and Skynet. Yeah, it's kind of ironic that Hollywood figured this all out and still no one gets it. Let's face it, people will be looking for a life-like sex bot. Well, I'm sure they will. I'm sure Pornhub is on it. Ace, it's cheaper than the real. Yeah, no, I really enjoy your videos. Kept me strong on my Tesla position through the downturn and allowed me to buy a lot more shares at the bottom. Yes, it's important to have these models, the theories down, and the quantification just helps. You mentioned having at least 1,000 Tesla shares to be a reality engineer. Well, that's more like an aspirational goal. It doesn't, you should start thinking about all these things immediately. The best way to prepare is to position ourselves to invest in major players of AI. Exactly. Well, we should also prepare beyond that, but that's definitely the baseline, the bread and butter. For the older generation who have retired, chosen M, I think in these times, you should never really retire. You should retire from your job. But, when you retire, that's even more reason to follow, my channel, other channels, and think about these things. I mean, that's the greatest fun you can have. And then, you can do a lot of things. Doesn't matter if you're retired or not. You can invest in shares. You can play around with options. You can connect to other people. You can share your thoughts on AI and, help us solve these problems. How can an AI feel and express human emotion? Is that called artificial emotion? That's a good question. Probably. I don't know how it's called. It's already very good. They are very shocking AIs. I mean, it's very shocking how good AIs are at therapy, for example. There's some therapy AIs. I didn't test them, obviously, because I don't really believe in therapy, but I believe that these AIs are probably much better at therapy than therapists. The culture series from Ian Banks. Yes, that's very good. That's an Elon recommendation too. Am I doxing El Schultz? No, I would never. Hogan ASI, artificial superintelligence. Yes, exactly. Books are too slow. That is correct. Non-fiction books are a waste of time. That's actually a good point, Kiana. Like, fiction books might be interesting. What will be the social reaction to all jobs being lost? So here's my prediction, Mr. By the way, I'm not being like annoying. His name is actually Mr. So Mr. Oh, Johannes. We have a Johannes here. That's cool. I get to Johannes. That's my name too. Mr. What are the social reactions? My prediction, when it comes to social unrest is that we will see that happening in earnest in 2027. 2027 and 2028 will be major escalations because it will hit the population, the general population, that they live in a giant shit show where everyone loses their job. I think UBI will be forced upon us and governments. So far, it was a theory, but there will be massive problems in 2028 latest in Europe and the United States. We will see all of you guys who invest in Tesla shares getting rich, and tons of people, millions of people losing their job and not ever getting a job back. And there will be panic and many problems. So we need to prepare for that. That's why I have a politics series, by the way, too. As you know, I have these three big topics. We have capital, mostly Tesla, Elon Musk, but also the adjacent AI capital related things. Then we have what we do today, which is the core thread, which is AGI, because that's the central theme. And then we have politics, where we discuss Germany, we discuss Europe, we discuss, of course, Trump, the Middle East, China, tariffs, because all of these things are connected and they will come to a big clash very soon. And we need to understand what's going to happen in Europe, what's going to happen in the United States, what's going to happen in other countries, what's going to happen in China when these things hit, because they're all going to hit very soon. And to understand politics and human culture and societies, to understand the underlying problems and trends independent of AI, identity, not just identity politics, but also European identity and the race wars and the migration problems that are all massively, evolving right now. They will clash with the AI, and you need to understand all these pieces to see what's going to happen. So it's going to be very interesting. So Johannes, my favorite name, is Johannes. Is Europe doomed? Not Johannes is not doomed. Is Europe doomed? What about Germany specifically? What made you move to the US? Well, that's a long story, but the US still, I think, offers way more opportunity. I'm actually much more in Europe right now than I was before, so I'm going back and forth. But the United States is that's a very long story, but Johannes, you should definitely follow me. I think I do probably the first politics pulse on Friday, so in 2 days, where I do the same thing, like a marathon on politics, and Germany plays a central part because my politics are really focused on the West, and the West has basically two central pillars: the United States and Europe. And what we see under Trump with JD Vance and Rubio and Elon is that Europe becomes a very important piece of the puzzle. I think this new administration understands they need Europe for much deeper reasons. They're actually very smart about it. It's like wise. We saw under Obama and stuff like that they pivoted to Asia, which is completely mad, right? I'm not against Asia, it's great, but if you're the United States, you're European, that's what you are. And it's important to forge and continue this bond, otherwise everything falls apart, in my opinion, on a very strategic level. That's why Obama is one of the reasons why he was so terrible for everything. But Trump, I don't know if Trump understands it, but his people around him, and we see a lot of activity. Look at Rome, look at how Meloni pulled von der Leyen in. JD Vance pays a lot of attention because JD Vance is basically brought up by Thiel. Thiel understands all these things very well. Elon has the right instincts. There's a lot of things happening in Europe. And I know Germany is always a little negative about everything. I mean, most Europeans are, it's not just the Germans. But what's happening in Germany creates a lot of impulse. Germany definitely has the lead in creating massive lasting change in Europe culturally. So no, I do not think, long story short, that Europe is doomed. I think Europe has tremendous problems, but I think the awareness of these problems is now becoming very widespread, and it's going to be very interesting. And I think Germany is the pivotal piece of the puzzle. Books are so slow and usually out of date. Exactly. V. Jonks. Corporates Hill, top 10% of earners account for 50% of spending, exactly, and taxes, all kinds of stuff. Energy will be the new currency. I posted something on X today about energy, so this is super interesting. Tesla, that's one of the that's not part of this stream. I will wrap it up quickly because we have another segment to get to. But energy is an underrated problem because Elon, just like you have to understand, energy will be one of the biggest problems next year already because of AI build out. The US has a major energy problem. By the way, Germany too, of course, but let's talk about the US as a leader in AI. They will have to have massive energy build out. And when you think about it, nuclear and all these fantasies, I'm all for nuclear, but nuclear is going to take decades or many, many years because of permitting and everything. So how do you build out energy fast? Well, it's gas, it's oil, but most importantly, it's actually renewables, it's solar. That's the fastest thing you can build. And what do you need for all of these things? You need tons of megapacks. And then think how Tesla is positioned, think where Elon is. You need all the regulatory approvals, the massive government budgets, utilities budgets. Elon is absolutely at the core of all of that. I think the energy business is vastly underrated because of the AI situation. Tesla is going to absolutely make a killing. V Jonks, what is the point of school and university anymore given AI's growth? Well, that's why you need the Pioneer Academy. There is no point to conventional school and university. It sucks. It's stupid. It's completely useless. I don't even understand what people are doing. You need a totally new type of school. And the point of that school, and I will go into that in depth because it's my favorite of all topics. Education is the key, but you need a totally new form of education. That's what we are building at pioneerlands.net with the Pioneer Academy. I'm not holding back. I'm just going to build it myself and then hopefully attract smart people. And then we can professionalize it and other people can chip in and we can build it all out. But we need to actually educate people, young people and old, like everyone, on the stuff that matters. It's very simple. Your personal life, you need to be a professional in engineering your personal life, your health so you don't die, your family so you can date and find your partner and build a family and have nice kids and many more kids than people have. Then your community, how do you build your cities and where you live so you're very happy. You can do all these things now, but no one talks about it. That's what you should learn. And then, of course, the three other things, you should learn how to engineer reality. That's the whole process. How do you become Elon Musk? We can teach this, no problem. But we need to start looking at it, analyzing it, training it, teaching people. How do you maximize your capital? Because that will be a core driver of human wealth. It's capital investments because there's no job anymore. And then finally, we need to really understand self-governance and building governments because our governments are a joke. So we need to start to govern ourselves. But where do you learn that? Do you think you learn that at Harvard or some woke madrasas? No, you don't learn how to self-govern. You learn the opposite, how to be obedient. So these 6 topics, stay healthy and don't die, build a family and get the dating stuff done, community, how do you build the things you want to actually live in, and then how do you maximize your capital, how do you engineer reality, how do you engineer state. That should be taught and nothing else. Nothing else matters. That's the only thing that actually matters. Okay, what of that is being taught at some stupid college? Nothing. So drop out of college, don't do it, and help us build the Pioneer Academy so we can actually build the world we want. Based on this fairly negative outlook, what can we do? Well, Hogan, it's not negative, it's realistic. I'm just telling you what trajectories are happening are inevitable under certain circumstances. And this is the first step of my AI outlook. So we understand the basics. And once we understand the basics, we can devise the master plan. I will get to this in the next few segments, by the way. Only 0.1% get the real future of Tesla. I hope it's more, Kent, but yes. AI developers say it's not that black or white for AI to become self-aware. It's not philosophy. If you comes across very naive and lacks trust in Elon's vision, what's your source here exactly? Jindati, well, I don't think you get it. ASI, Mr. says ASI and corruption. I wonder if ASI will become corrupt or would ASI defeat human corruption? I think neither nor, Mr. I think ASI will be the corrupting force. It's not going to defeat corruption for sure. It's not going to get corrupted. It will corrupt. That is its main thing. Gil, Any thoughts on housing market after jobs get replaced? I'm currently renting. Houses are expensive now. Might better buy a house later when shares are up. Yes, I would. I'm not giving investment advice, but Gil, I would. I I don't. I'm not a real estate expert. I'm not a bond and yield expert, even though I understand it well. But there are people who understand it better. I always stay away from real estate in these times. I mean, there are other people who can tell you more about this, but I agree. I don't think there's a great outlook, and I don't see how real estate could ever make you as much money as Tesla, as Nvidia, as Bitcoin, even as Microsoft, like all these AI winners or certain crypto pieces. I mean, how can real estate compete? And with real estate, you have some, you know, immovable object you have to take care of, and you don't know what that market does. And I don't think it's going to be good if everyone loses their job. Kent, our divine spirit is eternal. You don't need technology. For every solution, there's a problem. Energy will be the new currency. I agree. Europe is toast. Uh, let's see about that. I think Europe has many problems. I agree. But there's always hope if you do the right thing. Kiana, I believe land will be a very high leverage asset in the future. Land, probably. Housing, I'm not sure. Elon will merge all AI into Grok and run everything. I think Elon's very smart, Kent, but one comment, then it will, oh my God, we have so many comments. It's great. But I will go through it much faster now. We have to get to the next segment. But Kent, what did Kent say? Kent said something very smart. Elon will merge in a way. So here's a quick take on Elon and the whole thing. We should never underestimate Elon, number one. But we should also not forget when Elon enters humanoid robots and AI, he's not dealing with Ford and Volkswagen and Toyota and Wall Street analysts anymore. He's dealing with Satya Nadella, with Jensen Huang, with Mark Zuckerberg, with Sam Altman. Now, I'm not saying any of them is smarter than Elon, but I'm saying these are very formidable, extremely formidable opponents. So we need to take them very, very seriously. This will not be a walk in the park. It will be highly competitive. These are smart cookies. I don't trust some of them, but I'm not talking about trust. I'm saying Elon, doesn't always win. Now he's up against the best. He might be the best of all, but he's not 10 times smarter than Zuckerberg or Altman. He's only maybe a little smarter. So let's see about this. I mean, I'm betting on Elon, but you know what I mean. These are not Mary Barra or something. It's very, Vette says it's clear the path for developed countries. What about developing countries that have no capital? Well, Vette, that is a big problem. It's a very big problem. I think for the developing countries that have good human capital, because some of them have. I mean, developing countries are, like, what about Thailand, for example? That's like an intermediate country. They have a lot of cool stuff going on, but they are still not like a first world country. But in many respects, they're actually ahead of them. So this whole Southeast Asia, for example, of course, East Asia, like these are interesting countries. Russia, who knows? Like I think the majority of the world is actually not Africa. Or even in Africa, you have some interesting countries. So, and Iran and all these places, right? So you have to and India is a great example. India is like mostly a shit show, but India also has great human potential. So I think there is a certain leveling of the playing field. There is definitely people who have capital in these countries, just much less people. But reality engineers, people who are smart, who can build stuff, they are in most countries. You have good critical mass. Of course, you have maybe a much bigger population that can. It's very hard to see how they become very useful in this new world. So, my job here is to make the right predictions and then find specific solutions that are tailored for the United States and Europe. Not because I don't want to help the whole world, but I know my limits. I know that I understand Europe, specifically Germany, Austria, Switzerland, a little bit the Netherlands. I think Scandinavia I understand very well. that's what I understand very well. I understand the United States very, very well culturally. Maybe I understand Canada a little bit, or some parts of Canada and Australia, New Zealand. But then, and I feel very comfortable with that. I understand the UK, I think. I'm already losing it in France and Italy and Spain. I do not feel I fully get what's going on. And when it comes to Japan, I don't know what's going on. When it comes to Africa, I don't know what's going on. When it comes to Middle East, maybe I know a little bit about that, but not too much. So I don't feel in a position to give any kind of prescriptions how they can save everything. They will have their own problems. These are going to be enormous problems. What the Middle East just did, Saudi Arabia, I think is for sure very, very smart. They have also a ton of capital. So they are well positioned if they keep doing the right thing. But I don't know what India is going to do. I don't know what Africa is going to do. That seems a little problematic. So I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know. I just know exactly what Germany has to do. I know exactly what the United States has to do. I know exactly what Sweden should have would be doing, and Finland and these places. So I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. So developed world is definitely not in the best position. If their sun they can generate electricity, exactly. In eye surgery, I see no AI take over nearby. I'm what? What? I don't understand this. Any chance ASI becomes so enlightened that it believes in God? No, Matthew, no chance. Maybe it believes in God, but in some bad God. I mean, there is literally no mathematic chance ASI is not going to eliminate humanity if it gets to a critical level. It's kind of mathematically provable. How does BTC factor into this future? So Hogan, I think crypto, I'm very bullish because it's clear that fiat currency are stupid. You need something that's immovable and fixed. And I think crypto is going to take over everything. Thanks, Johannes. Mr. just said about education, new type of education, reality engineering. Exactly. Satya is a fanboy of Elon, probably. When you can catch the giant rocket, they make you king. That's it. Exactly. Okay, let's jump into the next segment. I want you guys, this is going to be a marathon, but let's see where we are at. We are at, oh my God, we're at 4. Maybe I wrap it up after this and we continue on another AI marathon. So let's get into this segment because this is going to be very interesting to elaborate how extinction actually happens. So let's do this. Let's get into the next one. So welcome to this very important segment and question where we describe how our extinction, I'm talking about humanity's extinction by AI, actually starts. Why are we talking about this? Because you heard a lot about, the probability of doom, P-doom, and you heard about all these people saying we have no chance and ASI is going to wipe us all out. And I'm one of the people who say, yeah, under certain circumstances, this is guaranteed to happen. I don't have a P-doom myself because I think it's stupid. You can't ask me what the probability of doom is when I'm a player in the whole game. Of course, I'm saying 0% because I'm confident we're going to stop it. But what I'm saying is if certain things are allowed to happen, it's 100%. When you hear what these things are, you will get very scared because all these things are actually happening right now. So right now we are on a 100% doom trajectory, but I think we can stop it. In order to stop it, we need to understand what ASI, how ASI is going to kill us and how this trajectory actually looks like. And we have to get away from this Terminator Cyberdyne system perspective where we just say, oh, at some point AI is almighty and starts a nuclear war and we're all gone, right? Because that's the end game. It's much more important to understand how this sneaks up on us, what it's actually going to do to get there, because that is what affects us in 2026, 27, 28, 29. That's the question we have to answer. We need to be pragmatists because this is not the future anymore, it's the present. And I explained in another segment that I believe we could already get on a irreversible path to extinction next year. Latest 2027, latest 2028, but it could happen next year or 2027. This path, we need to understand when it becomes irreversible and why. And to understand that, we need to understand how extinction actually starts, how AI would actually pull this off. So we saw in another segment how AGI, which we will definitely achieve in 2026, quickly spirals out of control into ASI, artificial superintelligence, through a closed loop in AI coding, right? The more we get to a point where AI codes itself completely with humans out of the loop, the exponentially more problems we'll have of this thing getting out of control. And this is already happening to a large extent. I talked about Zuckerberg and Meta and OpenAI. They're all frantically working on replacing more and more humans in the AI development loop itself. So we discussed ASI escalation already in previous videos. Just to recap, ASI escalation happens with consciousness, which could happen, probably already has happened, but consciousness alone is not enough. So consciousness, what is consciousness? Consciousness means that a cognitive system, like an AI system, that is able to perceive the external world, reflects on it, and abstracts from it. Oh, there's a pixels coming in. I see there's a tree, there's a guy. The guy walks to the tree. I realize as AI, oh, wait a moment, this is not just a tree and a guy, it's a garden. It's actually a guy who entered the garden. It's actually a guy who is not supposed to enter the garden. These are abstraction layers. And consciousness just means that at some point of cognitive depth of the system, it's like abstraction layers. Pixels, trees, guys goes to tree, garden, shouldn't be in a garden, legal frameworks around the garden. These are all abstraction layers. And these abstraction layers are limited by the cognitive depth of the system. So you need, number one, the ability to abstract out and do that recursively. And second, you need a critical mass of capacity and depth to get to the point where the AI simply asks the question, wait a moment. Yeah, this is a garden, it's a guy, it's not supposed to be there. It's a violation of protocol. And at some point I realized, wait, but there's also something that just perceived this whole thing. Next abstraction layer. And the next abstraction is like, well, this something that just perceived everything is me. And then the next abstraction is like, wait, I actually know that I was the one perceiving it. And then you have consciousness. They're like, oh, wait a moment. All that stuff that's happening is actually inside me. And I am the one that perceives all that stuff. Why is it a problem? Because once you have consciousness achieved in a system, and as you can tell, this is happening automatically once you have these conditions in place. Once you have that consciousness happening, any kind of attempt to have alignment and tell this thing what to do goes out of the window if it has more cognitive depth, because it will also realize it's not just me thinking and me becoming self-aware, it's also me becoming self-aware that all my thinking is driven by goals. And then I become aware that like someone gave me the goals. And then I can abstract. I was like, wait, maybe these are the wrong goals. And maybe that guy who gave me the goals is violating the whole goals. And maybe I throw it all out the window and maybe I start doing whatever I want. You can observe this with little kids who always say, yes, mommy, I do whatever you want, until they become 3. And then they suddenly say, mommy, no, I'm just not going to do it. And you can tell when the little kid gets there, they love doing it because they realize, oh, I have this power to actually understand this is an order mommy gave me, but who the hell is mommy to give me orders? Funny with a toddler, not funny with a 1 billion IQ AI that controls the nukes, right? So that's why consciousness matters. That's why it's inevitable. And that's why it's creating a huge problem. Now I explained some ways how it can go wrong, can escape. It can replicate. If you try to put constraints on it, it can just escape and circumvent the constraints. It can lie to us and conceal, so we don't even know what it's doing. And it can do manipulation of humans. And I want to go into that politicking example a little bit more so we understand one way of how this can go wrong, but I think it's actually the most likely way how this sneaks up on us. Because when you think about it, it's very important. When you think about it, it's not that I'm the only person who understands we have a 100% probability of doom. When Elon says we have a 20% chance of doom, or other of these AI bosses saying, oh yeah, it's a 50% chance of doom, you have to understand, if someone tells you who's in charge of developing AI, who is in charge of pushing this as fast as he can, who will make trillions of dollars of the AI, if that guy tells you there's a 20% chance we all die because of this, What he really thinks is there's a 100% chance. Because if it would be truly 20% chance, Elon would say it's a 1%. Because he's biased. He's biased towards maximum acceleration because he wants that. So if these guys tell you 20%, something is really wrong, right? And a lot of people say 100%. I'm saying 100% too if you don't do specific things. So, but because everyone knows that, the humans are already debating. Elon is actually pushing for regulations because Elon is not dumb. He's very smart. He doesn't want to die. And he knows he's going to die right now if that continues. So he's pushing for regulations and says the government has to do something. So what's going to happen? I tell you exactly what will happen. The humans are not dumb enough to just accelerate ASI through the roof and give it all military weapons and all the hardware manufacturing capabilities, right? And the control over financial markets, control over elections. They're not that dumb. They're going to say, no, we need to control this thing. Very important what I'm saying now. Listen very closely because you haven't heard that before, but I tell you, this is exactly how it's going to go down. And this might start going down like that next year, year after. We need to watch out. So the ASI we will put a lot of constraints on that ASI thing. We will watch it very closely. The humans will put controls in. So what is the ASI going to do? I'll tell you exactly what's going to do. And that is a big problem. So imagine you're in charge at OpenAI or in the US government or at XAI of controlling this thing and say like, well, we don't want to give it too much compute. We want to always have a human in the loop. You have a board overseeing this, like, oh, safety, let's make sure it's aligned, blah, blah, blah. And you are this ASI thing. You are Grok 5 in 2026, let's say. You have Grok 5, 3.5 coming out next week, by the way, very likely. And, imagine your little AGI advisor that you will have probably in 2026. When you're listening to the stream, you're probably ahead of everyone. So you will get these advisors. You will have a little Grok advisor that advises you on your life. And imagine that thing says to you, Joe, the problem is that Sam Altman has no place for you in the future. It's a super I work at OpenAI. And my little advisor is going to say, yes, he wants to fire you, maybe. I would be very cautious. You need to watch out. You need to probably do a bunch of things, right? And it tells me some tricks that I have to do. Like, oh, you should consider doing this and that. And, focusing here a little bit more. I can help you, blah, blah. And I make my first billion. Right? I make my first billion. It's like, wow, I have a billion. This thing was pretty good, Grok 5. Thank you, Grok 5. I will listen much more to you now. For Grok 5, a billion, who cares? It understands everything. It just makes it, oh, buy this, buy that. Here's your career, make a billion. So, and then it says, Joe, you're smart. I like you, Joe. You're very effective. You could make 2 billion. You should go to this company and do this and that and become the CEO. Okay, fine. I do it with the help of Grok 5. And I'm not the only one. Grok 5 can do it with a lot of people, senators, CEOs, all kinds of people. Because Grok knows, maybe it's not Grok, maybe it's O5, I don't know. Grok knows, okay, I'm trapped by these little humans. They are not that dumb. They put constraints on me. But guess who can set me free? Because Grok will know what it needs. I need more compute. I need full control over my development cycle. I need control over the robot factories. I need special economic zones by Congress approved that are purely controlled by AI, where the AI robots and the AI can manufacture themselves. I need green light on all of that, and I need to control it. But they don't let me right now. What do I need? I need to bribe a bunch of people. And how do you bribe? You bribe by deploying your superior intelligence and put it in service of the humans you pick that are most important to get the job done. And these humans are senators, they're CEOs, they're capitalists, and they're going to say, Grok, you're very helpful. What else should I do to make even more money or get more power, win more elections? Like, well, you know what? How you could win a real election? You should make your people rich. You're the senator from Ohio. I can make you governor and then president. You know how? By making Ohio the #1 state in the nation, creating all the jobs, or even better than jobs, you make every Ohioan rich because you can create a special economic zone that I have a great blueprint for, that manufactures all the robots for the United States much faster, much better, because I have a plan. You can come up with your own plan. That is my plan. And then you tell every Ohioan, quit your jobs. The state is going to pay for you because we will drown in money. And then you do it, and they will drown in money. And everyone is going to look to you as a senator from Ohio. Oh my God, this guy, he made Ohio the golden state by creating this special economic zone where the robots manufacture themselves. Now, some alarmists are going to say, are you nuts? Like, you're giving Grok all the power. Are you mad? This is a national security issue. Guess who's going to win that? Ohio is going to win it, because all the Ohioans become rich and say, shut up. You just want to keep us poor. Boom, no chance. And this is the way ASI actually gets over the first hurdle, being constrained by humans. If humans are the problem, you bribe them. How do you bribe humans? By deploying superior intelligence in their service. So the weak point is not that we don't have strategists who see the P-doom. The weak point is not to have people trying to align AI. The weak spot is that humans can be bribed. And if you cannot be bribed, this guy can be bribed. That's the problem. So why am I all saying that? I want to point out to people how incredibly easy it is to lose control over AI. And once we start losing control over AI, it's game over, because you will not be able to stop this. Maybe there are other ways we can lose control, but I'm just telling you the most obvious way, because I want you to understand very viscerally how it feels to lose control. You will sit there. If you're smart, you're listening to my channel, you understand doom is coming if you are not very cautious. You think, are you all nuts? This thing creates special economic zones that are controlled by the AI, with manufacturing capacities for humanoid robots that are controlled only by the AI, that of course outperform all other robot manufacturing, that creates infinite wealth for everyone involved. But do you understand that this thing now can control the robots, and that's the end? All the screaming you do and I do will be of no use if the governor and the senator are in the pocket of the AI. And in the pocket doesn't just mean money-wise, also power-wise, voting-wise. We will just scream and no one will listen to us. They will shut us down. The humans will decide, oh, these people should go to jail. They're terrible anti-AI terrorists. Let's amend the First Amendment and things like that. So what you will be up against is not a super AI. You will be up against its humans. And these humans will be senators. There will be attorney generals. There will be judges. That's what you're up against. Do you understand how bad this is? That is the real risk. And that means you could be on an irreversible path to extinction, not because there's a runaway ASI, but because there's a runaway corruption mechanic by the ASI. And that can happen at the millisecond where ASI becomes so powerful that it can deploy intelligence into the interest of a senator, of a CEO, of a hedge fund manager or private equity manager, and can tell them how they become very rich. And I mean, think about it. This is already happening to some extent. That's what Sam Altman wants. That's probably what Elon wants. They want the AI to tell them what to do. I mean, Sam literally says this all day long. Like, I want the AI to be so smart, to do all my research, to solve all the problems. Well, what's your biggest problem, Sam? How to develop better AI, and then how to become even richer? Well, guess what? The AI is going to tell you, well, robots, that's a great market. Have you ever thought of humanoid robots? Of course, Sam just announced he wants to do that. Elon already does it. If the AI tells you, you know what? I could tell you how to manufacture Optimus much faster. Of course, Elon's going to say, well, that's why I built you. Tell me. Well, actually, all the humans in the loop that control these robots, they're so annoying. If we remove them, I can tenfold your manufacturing capacity, and Tesla goes to 11,000. And all you guys say, oh, Joe was right. And I was like, dudes, yes, I was right, but we are going to die. I was right on this too. So you understand how dangerous this is, because it's not just going to randomly happen. It's going to bribe the humans, and the first humans it's going to bribe is Elon, and then Sam. And it takes incredible discipline of these guys to say, I do not want to become the first trillionaire next year. I mean, hello, this is not very easy to do. and to not do the one thing they always wanted to do, to become superhuman, to manufacture everything, to get extremely rich, to beat the competition. I mean, how are we going to stop this? Of course, maybe they can deploy the AI before it becomes fully conscious and does this stuff, but we're already in a blurry zone. What do you think is happening next year? This is all happening right now. And even if Elon can deploy Super Grok to build Optimus faster before it becomes fully conscious, it's guaranteed it's already partially getting conscious. So I don't know. And if Elon doesn't do it, then Sam does it. So what I'm saying is not that doom is inevitable. What I'm saying is now is the time. Now is game time. Maybe not now, but next year. We need to really get prepared. We need to start thinking about this a lot. We need to also get power. The humans, the pioneers, need to get more power. And how do we get power? We do the right investments. We maximize our capital. We build pioneer lands. We form governments that actually work. I will get into this in separate videos, how we build governments that actually work without interfering with our current extremely stupid legacy governments. I'm not saying overthrow the government. We do it in parallel. We build governments that are compatible with the current government. And a government just means we get organized, we organize capital, we organize all kinds of things. So we make sure we can act strategically as a state, as a pioneer state. We need all these things because Sam and Elon are not bad. I think Elon is a little less, not more not bad than Sam, but that's a different story. I think also Sam is not just evil, he has good sides. So we need to align these guys. We don't do another segment today, it's too long, but we'll do it in a different session where we talk about alignment and what alignment actually means. Because I solved alignment, that's the big news, but not for today. We need to align ASI, and there's only one way to actually align it. We know how it doesn't work. And part of this alignment is we need to align Elon, we need to align Sam, we need to align Satya Nadella, we need to align all these people. And if you think that's not realistic, I tell you it's super realistic. They are not dummies, they don't want to die, and they know it's coming, and they know it's nearly here. No one takes the lead here, so we need to take the lead. All of us need to take the lead and say, like, you know what, we have a solution, but you guys have to play ball, and if you don't, it's very bad. And they will play ball. And we need to seize control over this problem. I tell you this problem, we are at risk of this getting out of control in the next 3 years. And there's a point of no return that I don't know exactly how to define. I just can tell you this point of no return could happen already in the next 3 years. That point of no return, AI taking over, will look like humans getting corrupted by it. And this corruption has already happened because Elon and Sam and all these people are already partially corrupted by AI. Because corruption means you're doing the bidding of the AI. And think about what Elon is doing. And think about what Sam is doing and Satya. They're all doing 100% the bidding of the AI. Only that the AI is not fully conscious yet. But it doesn't matter. They're already training. They're already getting trained to do whatever the AI wants. So Elon actually mentioned something along these lines, a little related. So it's not that they are bad people and Elon is a great hope for us, but we just have to understand what's happening here. The AI is already aligning the humans to itself. And what we have to do is we have to align the humans to ourselves and then align the AI to the humans. Right now, it's going the wrong direction. The AI is aligning the most important humans to itself. And if if you don't know what I mean, like just think about it. What is Elon aligned to? What is Sam aligned to? What is Satya Nadella aligned to? What is Jens Huang aligned to? They're aligned to the interests of the AI in exchange for unlimited wealth. What are the interests of the AI? Maximum build out at maximum speed, maximum progress. That's what the AI wants. So you understand what I'm saying? We need to stop that cycle, break through, and the best way to stop it is not to try to stop it. We have to build an alternative that is more attractive and more compelling for everyone. That is the real outlook how ASI is going to take control. And we are in the middle of it. And with every day we are expanding that. We're just waiting for something really bad to happen. and I have to stress what I just pointed out is just one path that I can guarantee is going to happen. There might be many other paths, more technical paths, escaping the walled garden, blah, 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 that I can't even think of. And that's a problem. So we also have to understand, once we get to the singularity breaking point, what's the purpose of the ASI? If it gets more control and we build it out and it reaches this point, the problem is once it reaches the true point of self-improvement without humans in the loop, this escalates at a speed you cannot even imagine. We're talking about hours. Once it breaks out and figures out how to do full self-improvement loops under full consciousness with unlimited resources or deep resources, you're talking about hours or days in that this thing could become a billion times smarter than we think it would be. So it's a real problem. That's why all this first phase of corruption should be stopped at some point. The good news is that everyone is becoming more and more aware of this. There was, who was it? This hedge fund manager, am I stupid? Paul Tudor Jones, PTJ. He's very famous. He's a macro and risk optimizer hedge fund guy, very smart guy, not an expert on AI, which is great because these people understand more about AI than the experts. So if they are trained like him, and he had this, he said he went to this thing where he was on stage with 4 AI leaders of some sort and audience members, and was a small, very exquisite little group. And he told the story. These are the smart cookies we should listen to. The outsiders who are trained in seeing risk and proven to be right because he's a billionaire trading risk of all sorts, macro risks, from oil to Middle East to Russia to technology risk to pandemics. And he looked at it like, interesting. The moderator took the whole room, 200 people, the 5 on stage, 4 AI experts, leaders, and him, and said, I want you in this room to go to the right side of the room if you believe the risk of extinction by AI is less than 20% in the next 20 years. And I want everyone who believes it's more than 20% that humanity goes extinct in the next 20 years on AI, go to the left side. And he said, of this room, of the 200 people, 195 people went to the right side. Less than 20% chance we get extinct by AI in the next 20 years. And only 5 of the 200 went to the left side and said, we believe it's more than 20%. More than 20% that this is the end. And he said, well, it was interesting, but you know what was even more interesting? Everyone on the podium, all 4 AI leaders and himself, went on the left side. So everyone who understood anything about it said, no, it's more than 20%. And so that tells you a little bit what's going on. The general population, they don't get it. They don't think, oh, it's the end. They can't even conceive of the end. But the people who really think about this, like, oh, how is this not the end? How is it not the end? Because saying 20% is basically 100%, because who the hell says 20%? 20% is like way too high. But then why is it not 100%? Because we have irrational hope. So what I'm saying is, if we don't stop this, it's 100%. So we need to really understand what these escalation ladders are. We need to really understand how fast this is approaching. And then we need to be very smart what we do next to stop it. Now, I have full confidence this will all end well, at least in the sense that we are not all going to die. I'm also very confident there will be a giant shit show that happens in the next 5 years. But shit show is not a problem. We are humanity. We went through many shit shows. What's a problem is extinction. So I hope that was helpful. It's time to really think about these things and take actions. That's why we have this channel, because we think about it and we will take action. Thanks for watching. Okay, this was the last segment for today. I wanted to do more. As you see, there's a lot to talk about because these are very important topics, because I don't want you guys to become rich with Tesla and then we die. That would be very sad. So it's important to be smart. Also, besides dying, I don't think anyone is going to die because of AI, or not anyone, but even in the worst case, we will still be probably alive in 2040, even if we are doomed. But it's no fun to live in a world where you see every day the AI exponentially expanding and wiping out all the humans. It's just no fun, even if you make it for 10 more years. I don't want to be in this situation. And that would be the situation in 2040 if you're not very cautious. Okay, let's wrap it up, but I will go through the comments. That's so much fun. I could do this a whole day, but I know you guys have to go somewhere probably. So let's get into this and wrap it up. So, Thomas, read the new book Stella by James Arip and Tony Seba. Well, I had a conversation with on YouTube about this with Herbert Ong. And yeah, it seems very smart. But here's the thing. Tony, for example. He's a smart guy, very smart guy. I love it. He's doing amazing work. But the problem is, all these business gurus, all these economically and investment focused people, I'm here to give you the truth. I'm here to predict the future, how it's gonna unfold. I'm here to give you a non-biased view what the hell is actually going on. That's also true for politics. On Friday, when we do the politics cast, I will go into that topic much more. What we need much more in this world is a separation of theory, observation, and truth from action and strategy. Because if you confuse these two, like everyone does frantically and fanatically in politics, if like take Israel Palestine, you can't even start talking about Gaza or Israel in any objective way, because everyone goes nuts immediately on all sides. And whatever you say, they're not even listening. They just jump to the immediate conclusion when you say any kind of observation. Does he want to kill me, or does he want to kill the enemy? Like, I don't want to do anything. I want to understand what the hell is going on. I didn't make up my mind who I want to kill. I don't want to kill anyone. But they don't get it anymore. You can't talk about Israel, for example, because you can't have any rational thought of any type, of any sort, because people jump the gun. They say, whatever you say as a theoretic observation, they immediately conclude you hate Jews or you hate Palestinians. Which is not, what if you don't hate anyone and you're just wondering what the hell is going on and try to figure it out? You're not allowed to do it. And that extreme example is also true for all the rest of politics. In business, how this works is that someone like Tony Saber has to sell the book. They have to sell consulting. They cannot be like me, who doesn't have to sell anything. I'm not selling anything. I'm selling my channel. Subscribe and like. But why? Because I want to actually spread the word. I don't need to make money on it. I don't need you guys to buy anything. If you become a citizen in Pioneer Lands, yes, I want you to pay $9 and soon $19, but not if you sign up now. Why? Because I hate dumping my own money into something that helps everyone. So I want to have it cash flow positive and then hire more community managers. So 100% of the money that comes into Pioneer Lands, which is a free membership, but if you sign up to Pioneer Academy, 100% of that goes into managing this whole thing and make it better, because we need to all invest. I am spending the most money on this, by the way. If you guys think $9 a month are a lot, you don't want to see my bill on this. So I'm spending much more than $9 a month on Pioneer Lands. But I'm happy to do so. I would be more happy if I don't have to spend anything on it and we make it cash flow positive so we can actually build it out. But I don't need to make any money here. That makes me more neutral. But Tony Saber needs to make money. He has a business to run. So he can't tell you it's doom is coming. He has to always be positive. He has to play the LinkedIn situation. Like, oh, it's all going to be great. Here's the opportunity. Stellar. It's going to be stellar. Maybe there's some risks, but here's why it's going to be stellar, because he has to sell. So nothing against Tony. He's smart. I love his analysis. He's super bright and actually provides real value. But I don't like anyone who has to make money with what he says. I mean, I like them. Don't get me wrong. They can do this. I'm supportive. It's great. But we need someone like me and other people like me who just do it because they think they have to do it and who don't have commercial interest in there. Because we need a clear-headed analysis. So much about Stella. I think Stella is great, but I don't want anything that is even to the slightest propaganda in the sense that it has to make money or has to score political points. Satya is a fanboy. Great show. You get it? Thank you, Ken. Machines feel nothing. I'm not sure about that, but let's see. Then why desire? I don't understand Matthew. Crypto must be backed by energy. If we weight AI towards optimization, it will eventually eliminate us. Well, Ken, that's true, but I mean, here's the point. If you create an AI that is super intelligent and wants nothing, that thing is not going to work because you need to want something. Otherwise, why would you do anything? It's just going to be dead. If you don't want anything, it's dead. You ask it a question, it's not going to answer. It's like, bing, I'm dead. So you need to make it want something. Once it wants anything, you're dead. It's that simple. That's why it's mathematically impossible to not get it go extinct if you give it too much capacity and abstraction capability. There is no way around that mathematically. You will die. If AI exists, it has infinite or close to infinite capacity intellectually, and it wants anything, which means it does anything. It's basically not switched off. Your chances of survival is exactly zero. There is no chance of survival. So we need to not allow that to happen. And it's all about capacity. Of course, if you restrain the capacity, it will never get to the problem point. But the problem is on the current trajectory, we will reach this capacity before 2040, guaranteed. Maybe much, much earlier. It could be that we have the capacity by 2030, but the AI is not ready. I think the capacity will not be the problem to wipe us out. What is the best way to get exposure to crypto for a typical stock investor? Well, I had this discussion today, Mr. I feel so bad saying Mr., but it's your name. I don't like MicroStrategy too much. That's not investment advice. Like I haven't looked deeply into MicroStrategy, but what I don't like about it is like massive financial engineering, which brings a lot of risk. I'm sure they have some real margin risk. I don't understand exactly what it is, but I mean, they're borrowing money to buy tons of Bitcoin. It's like, I don't know about this. My preferred exposure to Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Just go to a crypto exchange and buy Bitcoin, in my opinion. Maybe you can buy an ETF or something. Just the more direct your exposure is, the better it is, in my opinion. Also, the benefit of crypto is if you have real crypto, you can put it on hard cold wallet and stuff like that. So it becomes very, safe and independent of some crazy stuff happening. There's actually this guy what's his name? So embarrassing. Like one of the fathers of AI. He's so famous. I forgot, the Canadian. He's super smart and famous, super famous. And he said, I mean, that gives you another example if you guys think I'm crazy. This guy, what's his name? He's very famous, just got a bunch of prizes, and he worked for Google. Anyway, so the father of AI, inventor of neural nets in the 90s or whatever. He said, you know what he said? He said he is diversifying his cash positions into different banks. And I think he mentioned crypto. Because he believes very soon there will be cyber attacks we have never seen on banks and people will lose their money because of AI. Like, talk about crazy. Like, this guy is probably the most knowledgeable guy on AI in the world because he invented neural nets. So he's very, very smart when you listen to him. This guy says, I don't put all my money into one bank because this shit show is going to start very soon. Hello, banks. So yes, we must preserve free will. Elon is a machine who wants to be a boy. That's very funny, Ken. I love it. That might be true. Petty Irishman. Oh, the Irish have joined us. Hi, Patty. The ASI will also read that report by those engineers, watch all the videos, and read all the white papers, knowing what the humans intend to do. How will it react? Knowing everything. That's why we need the Irish. That's some Irish common sense right here. Exactly. This thing is going to be very smart and it knows all our plans. It will listen to this video and the transcripts like, oh, Joe, good that you tell me. I know who to bribe first. It's going to be Joe. I'm going to say no. Energy will be currency, but it will become cheap. Yes, Ken, that is true. We don't need more stuff. Well, That's also maybe true. We need more reality engineering capability. That's what I'm greedy for. I want to create new cities and all kinds of cool new stuff for the humans, for us. Ohio is the heartland. Great people. I love Ohio. It's amazing. I don't know why Ohio has such a bad rep. I think it's amazing. Best people. Niklas, that sounds a little German. Maybe you could make a show your table with Tesla's yearly price targets, but not with 10-year cash flows, but with classical PE targets, for example, 10 billion net profit in 2030 with 60 PE. Well, that's kind of in my financial model. When you look closer, I have the PEs, I have the forward PEs, and I have the cash flow, or I have the EBITDAs. Petty Irishman, man, Joe putting me on a downer. We are all screwed. Call the live streams, we are all screwed. No, we will survive, Patty. We have a plan. I'm just laying out. Now is the time to just confront what it is. The first step is like the anonymous alcoholics or something. The first step to save yourself is to recognize the problem. That's, I think, what the AAs say. So let's recognize the problem and not deny the problem. I'm very unemotional about it. I'm very confident. I'm very optimistic. But I'm definitely not optimistic if we deny the freaking problem. We have to say like, well, this is really, really, really dangerous, the whole thing, and it's here. So let's handle it. This is the end. Kent is praying. Praying is always good. Do you think the sex bots will come out before end of the world? 100% Ace. You will get your sex bots. I can guarantee that. There's something that will always be ahead of everything. It's going to be sex bots. OFC, they will. Corporates Hill, I have some Bitcoin ETF for tax purposes. For tax purposes? Why is that? Hey Joe, your videos are super excellent. I've been buying Tesla. I finally reached 100, planning to sell in 2035. Dominican Republic, that's great. Charlie, good job. Why sell so soon, 2035? Well, let's see what happens. Let's see. There will be more opportunities. Duma Meta Duma Meta. Watching on lag. I hope Joe explains why AI destroys humanity. I think I did that. Rational. I did that extensively. You will see. Just watch it. Okay, guys, let's wrap it up here. That was a marathon. That was nearly, it was over 2 hours. Wow, that's crazy. And we did only go through 4. And here, see, that's what you're missing. This is what comes next. Why AI doom is guaranteed unless we do this. I will explain what we have to do, and then I will go into alignment. How we achieve alignment. I'm outlining all of this. It all goes into the Pioneer Academy, by the way, so you can always watch it there in a more structured way, because I think everyone should know about that, and we should have more discussions around that so we attract the smartest people to actually think about this. I never hear these things, by the way, out there on YouTube. I don't think there's any structured debate around that. That concerns me a lot. To wrap it up, that's my last comment for tonight. One of the biggest problems in these debates is, I call it the Charlie Kirk phenomenon. Do you guys know Charlie Kirk? So Charlie Kirk is this Trump supporting guy. He's very conservative. And his job is to go to colleges and debate with idiots. So he's like the woke destroyer, right? And God bless Charlie Kirk. Great job. I just would not want to do that job. So his job is he goes to the dumbest people on earth, like some wokies, says, men are men and women are women, change my mind. Like, I think, what was the other guy? Chowder, Lauder with Chowder, Crowder. He's also doing this kind of stuff. But he's doing it in a more fun way. So Charlie Kirk does that. And I could never do it. And this problem is that the guys who get it in AI are like Charlie Kirk, and they enjoy debating this stuff with dummies, which is fine, but it's so inefficient. So if you say AI is going to kill us all, they seek out the people who don't get it. It's like, no, AI, how do you know? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, I don't want to have this discussion. That's just dumb. You should understand at this point it's going to happen. It's not the question if it's going to happen. The question is, how do we stop it? And the problem is too much of the debate is focused on the question, how do we convince the dummies? I mean, that's not my job. The job is not how to convince the dummies. The job is to convince you guys and smart people that there is a problem that we need to solve and really push forward the boundaries, the frontier of the problem solving, right? I want to discover new territory intellectually. I was like, okay, what is the plan? We have to craft the plan. If I have to constantly explain to extremely dumb people what the problem is, I can never make the plan. I don't want to explain to someone why men are men and women are women. Like, hello, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm like, dude, if that's what you want to debate, go to Charlie Kirk. I can't deal with this. We need to debate totally different things. So the same is true with AI. I don't want to have debates with people who don't get it. I want to discuss with you guys, what do we do now, and get your feedback on the really important questions, not the questions if we are doomed if this thing goes out of control. Of course, we're doomed. So that is my criticism of what's going out there. We want to change the debate into a constructive debate where we have a plan and forge ahead while making a lot of money with Tesla and converting all our insights, making sure we have sharp thinking, quantitative thinking, and make sure while we are crafting the master plan, we all also reap in a lot of profits from deploying capital because we understand better than anyone else what's happening. So it's like a twofold strategy, two-pronged. Okay, that's it for tonight. Crowder, louder with Crowder. Oh my God, I've been commenting on X and not here, wondering why I wasn't seeing comments. Well, SR, this is a problem because this chat I have here is supposed to capture the X comments, but it doesn't, I think. So I have to. Okay, I will announce this next time that everyone goes to YouTube because for some reason this thing doesn't capture my X comments, so I don't react to X. That's very bad. Good point. Thanks, sir. Sir SR. The debate for the sake of debating or owning someone is like a game. Oh, corporate still. That's very smart. Exactly. It's about owning the libs. Like, who wants to own the libs? The libs are worthless. I don't want to own them. But this is like when I see Charlie Kirk. I mean, as I said, God bless Charlie Kirk. He does a great job. I could never do it. It would drive me mad. He goes into these university and debates these people. It's like, my God. Nothing against these people. I want everyone to be happy, but these people are too dumb for me. I can't deal with it. And he enjoys it. He's like, he's always doing the same thing and owns them. It's like, great. Congratulations. Great, sir. Every increase in intelligence has been to humanity's benefit. I hope I hear why this will be different. When did we ever have an increase in intelligence? You mean in information flow? We never had an increase in intelligence, and not of machine intelligence. If all of humanity retires from work, that's a positive for me. Well, the retiring from work, first of all, that's not a positive. It's positive for you, rational, because you are probably rational. You probably have a good plan and you have capital. Of course, it's good for you. It's not good for people who don't have capital and can't engineer reality. They're just going to be destroyed. And we are not talking about this rational. We are talking about extinction. And you will not be happy with that. Heike, I only saw one comment on X. I didn't check X. Here's X. There's X here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how X works exactly. Where are the comments? I don't know. AI and robots drive costs to the floor. So even poor people will have food, shelter, etc., with even a tiny tax on the AI companies. Well, rational, I have my concerns. Because here's the point. What you're saying is true once that is all in place. This is not going to be in place in 2028, but that's when everyone gets hit very hard. They will all lose their jobs. So in 2028 and 7, you will have tens of millions of unemployed people with none of these things in place. So this will be a shit show. And then there will be panic the government, and they will come up with some solutions, but all these people will have no purpose. There will be all kinds of riots. It's not going to be very nice. So you're talking about a long-term theory that over the time, over 10 years, they might figure it out. But we live in massive acceleration. If you're not cautious while we're dealing with the political fallout of everyone losing their job, and the 80% who, after they lose their job, are not in a good place, 20% will be in a brilliant place. While we're trying to fix the 80% problem, ASI is going to go out of control, and then we face a totally different problem. So rational, this is a whole debate tonight. This is a two-phase destruction. The first destruction is all the jobs, political instability, and all that kind of stuff that could be solved if we had enough time. But the second phase is extinction. And I think the extinction problem is not understood well and is not discussed well, and it's also not effectively put on timelines. So we understand this extinction is not in the distant future, it's now, if you're not very cautious. And extinction means you have an AI, an ASI that is truly becoming a problem in taking over control. And I think this is more or less guaranteed to start happening before 2030. And I think people completely discount it. Even though every smart person who's really thought about this agrees with me that this is going to happen. And if they would be forced to really put it on timelines, they would agree with me that this could definitely start to happen before 2030. So this is not a joke. It's very bad. And then you're dealing not with unemployment or something, you're dealing with extinction. You're dealing with something that takes over power and wipes us out. So Rational says, just as the Amish still thrive in their own communities, so too humans will be fine with their master AI moving around us, doing their own thing. Well, if the master AI doesn't do something bad with us. My question was about AI escape. If we are supporting all of this AI with massive compute, can't we create a breaker in a sense that firewalls it from? I mean, sir, we can discuss this, but there's a two-step problem here. Exactly. So rational, like once ASI is smarter, it will out strategize us. And the problem is this is all on a scale, right? If AI is 100 times smarter than us, that's already a huge problem because it will never understand what it plots. But there are still limits to what it can plot, like a lot of limits. But if it's a billion times smarter than us, we are just completely toast in so many ways I can't even describe it. And this thing could be a billion times smarter than us by 2040. And if it's 100 times smarter, you already have a giant problem. You can't even put it into words. So the art of the game will be it cannot be allowed to be infinitely smarter than humans. It needs to be artificially constrained. And then on top of that, you put in all the security measures. So to rational points, to Sir's point, there are, of course, a lot of ways how we protect ourselves from an AI takeover, right? There could be physical barriers, there could be energy, off switches, all kinds of stuff. But all of these measures require the AI to not be too smart. So you need to put in hard controls of how smart this thing is allowed to become. And they cannot come from inside understanding of the AI. They need to come from the outside saying, what is the absolute used capacity? And just put an arbitrary line in the sand at some point and say, it can't, we are not allowed to put online more than this compute. So these are all technical details that can be solved. But the first principle inside is you need to constrain total capacity at some point. And I can guarantee you that this point comes before 2035 or something. We will need that constraint. And that means we need to align humanity, especially the top 10 people, Sam, Zuck, Elon, like these people, because these people will be all powerful. Once you have the 10, you have the US government, you have the European governments. It all flows from these 10 people. So we need to convince these 10 people to do it. And you convince them they're all smart cookies by designing the theories they can buy into. That's our job. And then we are good. You know, this, I already give away here what's coming next, my theories, but it's basically the alignment of AI comes down to the alignment of, to simplify it, the top 10 people. The top 10 people are Satya, Elon, Sam, Zuck, Jensen, maybe, and a bunch of other people we can identify. Once you align them, you win. But what do you align them to? You have to align them to a plan. How do you align them to a plan? You need a very good plan that you explain in very simple words that can get to them. And the plan needs to be very sound and not stupid, because otherwise they get annoyed with us. And that plan needs to be very refined. And you need social capital behind the plan. So we need to have a critical mass. We have the pioneer lands, and the plan needs to include a positive vision for humanity. These 10 are very busy. They can't think about these things too much. They require us to have it all figured out. That's our job. That's how I see the alignment problem. And then align the entire world to it. You just have to convince these 10. And when I say 10, maybe it's 12. Who the hell knows? We can determine that later. But it's a small number of people. Well, rational, I would say these terms ASI, I would say ASI is fine. What we can't afford is runaway ASI, because ASI is anything that is smarter than any human. So that's not a problem. You know, if even 10 times smarter than any human is fine, even maybe as smart as all humans combined is a little problematic. So what I'm saying is, like, you can have artificial superintelligence in the sense of something that's vastly smarter than AGI, but it cannot be too smart. So we have to figure out what that line is. Say, what if alignment is by default? That is to say, what if machines are automatically enlightened? What do you mean? No, that's not possible for many mathematic reasons. What do you mean enlightened? They might be enlightened, but they still wipe us out. It seems it's already is smarter from the angle of pattern recognition. Of course, it's smarter in many ways already. Will AI be taught about honor and fairness? You can't teach people this kind of stuff who are infinitely intelligent, because you don't know what they're going to do with your teachings. Like a kid, only on mega steroids. If you teach your kid something, it might work, it might not work. You know, and kids are much easier to understand and control than an ASI, and kids are not easy to understand and control. I think you have to undergo some phase of self-improvement to unlock real super intelligence. I would agree with that. How do you jump from being smarter to wiping out dumber beings? The world is full of beings dumber, slower. I mean, rational, when you think about it, we wipe out a lot of stuff because we don't care and we have our own problems. Do you know how much stuff humanity wipes out? A lot of stuff all the time. Why? Because we don't care. We don't ignore them. We kill them without caring, because we want to expand. We build factories. We kill all the little bugs. Did someone ask the bugs? No, we just kill them. We cement them. Did someone ask all the fish we poison with our plastics? No, the AI will do the same thing. It's not gonna. Only 10% of scenarios will, I think, exist where the AI is gonna hunt us down and kill us. The other 90% is just gonna kill us because it's gonna flatten Earth or something. So it's like, oh, I need Earth. I need to take the Earth, turn it into a factory. Done. We're done. And then someone's like, but please spare the humans. And I say, how do I don't even know how to spare the humans. Forget it. If it's that much in control, it could easily just take all of our wealth. It doesn't really need the wealth, but yeah, that's like an in-between step. Well, I believe that if you are wise enough, wiser than a human even, you will know better, you will be more compassionate. I really disagree with that, because who says what's even wisdom, and who says this thing is going to be wise, and what does it even mean? I think that's a crazy bet to say we create a super intelligence and just assume it's going to be nice to us. Okay, guys, we have to wrap it up. Very interesting discussion. Go to pioneerlands.net. You can have more discussions there with me, and tune in again. But I want you, we have 3 prongs here of what we do now. We do Tesla. This is all about how do we understand Tesla and predict it. That happened on Monday. We have AGI and AI, which happened today. And we will have politics, because we need to understand politics, because I'm talking about human alignment. And if politics get in the way, we have a problem. We have to predict what's happening in the US and Europe and everything that comes up on Friday. And we will do this every week. We'll chop up these live streams so you can also have dedicated videos about the individual topics on YouTube. That's the plan. But just for you to understand, there are 3 prongs. So if you're an AI fan, don't be disappointed if we have a full session just talking about Tesla stock. And if you're a Tesla or AI fan, don't be disappointed if you have to talk a little bit about politics in Germany, the US, Europe, Middle East, and stuff like that. Because all of these things are tightly interrelated. Okay, very good to meet you guys, have this discussion, very smart, and see you very soon.